Okay, let's have a look at one of the questions that you may have chosen for homework. This question should serve the needs of those who worked on 4 and 5 and those who also went ahead and tried 14 or 15. So a ship is approaching a harbor between a pier and a lighthouse. The distance between the pier and the lighthouse is 3.2 miles, which you can see in the triangle. The angle between the lines of sight from the ship to the pier and the lighthouse is 110 degrees. The lighthouse keeper reports the ship is 2.6 miles away. Determine the distance between the ship and the pier. Okay, well, I'm going to take this picture and I'm going to cut it out just so we can enlarge it and make it easier to work with. Okay, all right, here's our new visual. We'll just increase the size of that. And what we're after is the distance from the ship to the pier, which is this distance right here. Okay, I'm going to call it side A, if you will, which is going to be opposite angle A. And we'll label the rest of the diagram. With the ship, we'll call it angle B. The 3.2 nautical miles would be side B, and then angle C would be at the pier, and across from that, the 2.6 miles would be side C. Okay? So remember how we would take inventory of all the measurements that we have. So I'm going to create a table which is going to take care of all the measurements that we have. I'm just going to resize this table. I'm going to move it around a little bit. I suggest that you make your own table as well. And in that table, we're going to take inventory of the information we have. Okay, so we have, let's see, side A we do not know, but we're after it. Angle A, we're not sure of it either. We do have side B, it's 3.2. We also have angle B, it's 110 degrees. And lastly, side C is given as 2.6 miles, and angle C, well, we don't know. Okay. Now, take a close look at the table. Okay. We're supposed to be solving for side A. Okay. If you look at row A, we haven't a single piece of information. Okay. Without a single piece of information for row A, we can't solve for side A. So the only thing that we're able to do is to work with the remaining rows. So we're going to have to consider the second row and the third row of information. So if you and I can figure out what angle C is, we could then maybe come up with information for row A. So let's start there by determining the measure for angle C. Okay. So let's use the sine law to do that. So we're going to have B times sine C is equal to C times the sine of B. Substituting in your values, we have 3.2 multiplied by the sine of C, which is equal to 2.6 times the sine of 110 degrees. Now we're going to try to isolate or get sine C by itself, so we'll divide both sides by 3.2. And by doing so, the 3.2 will divide into that one in the top, and we're left with sine of C. So I'm just going to tidy things up a bit. Sine C is 2.6 multiplied by sine 110 degrees divided by 3.2. Okay, moving forward, in order to find c, we're going to have to take the inverse sine of that expression we have here. So I'm going to bracket this expression, and I'm going to do the same thing when I make use of the calculator. So if you grab your scientific calculator, let's throw in these values and see what we come up with. So for me, I've got to enter things in a reverse order. So I'm going to type in 110 degrees, and I'm going to take the sine of that. I'm supposed to multiply that by 2.6. Lastly, I'll divide by 3.2. So I get 0.76. Now, I'm going to take the inverse of that. So I'll press my second function, or inverse function, and then I'll press inverse sine, and I get 49.7 degrees. Okay, so we're going to round that to approximately 50 degrees. So going back to our table now, we have angle C at 50 degrees. Interestingly enough, we can figure out angle A right now. We already have two angles, so angle A must be 180 degrees minus the sum of 110 and 50. So a little quick math on that is going to give us an answer of 20 degrees, or 180 minus 160 degrees. So angle A is now 20 degrees. So looking at the table, we now have enough information to go ahead and solve. So we have enough information in row A in order that we can figure it out. That is the length of A. So let's move forward on this. Okay. I'm just going to take a snapshot of our table. We'll bring that forward, and we'll use the sine law one more time to get an answer. So let's consider now moving through the table in this orientation. Okay, so we're going to have A sine B is equal to B sine A. Filling this in, we'd have A times the sine of 110 degrees, which is equal to 3.2 multiplied by the sine of 20 degrees. Now solving for A, we're going to divide out sine 110 from both sides. These will cancel, and we're left with A is equal to 3.2 multiplied by sine 20 over sine 110. So if we grab our calculator once more and we key that in, I'm just going to clear that, and we'll enter in our numerator. So I need to do this in reverse order. So 20, and I'll press my sine key. I'll multiply that by 3.2, and then I'll divide by the sine of 110. So I'm going to divide by, I need to key in 110. I'll press the sine key. Now that gives me the value in the denominator, or sine 110, and then I'm going to press equals. And I end up with an answer of 1.16. So if you look back at the table, or the numbers given in the problem, they were accurate to one decimal place. You can see it in the 3.2 and the 2.6. So we're going to round this off to approximately 1.2. So if we back this up again, go back to the diagram, the original problem, and this measurement here is 1.2. This angle here is 20 degrees. The angle that is here